Good evening. Let me get my stuff together here. Good evening. Coming in. Come on in, beautiful people. Make this font a little bit bigger. There we go. Come on in, beautiful people. Good evening. Let's see. The first good evening belongs to Sherry Chambers. She said she was going through videos and was catching up. Beautiful. Wow. Okay. That was at 2:23 in the afternoon. Then we have Cam, best seat in the house at 3:06. And then we have Raphael. The men are coming in strong this year at 6:17. He said, good evening, and he is ready to rumble. Awesome. Good evening, Rochelle, Ashley Dye, Cheryl Johnson, Bianca. Hello, Tasha, Diana, Deja, Renee, Gwyneth. Good evening. Rochelle, good evening, family. Good evening, Lydia and Keita. Good evening, Noemi. Yolanda, good evening, Carmen. Leah, Nicole, Danielle, and Darlene, good evening. Audria, Donna, Jerry, Carla, John, Brittany, Karen, Special, come on in, Anna, Mike, Camille, come on in, Bianca, Lisa Palmer, Dominique, come on in. Come on in. I'm going to get a couple of these greetings out. We're going to get to our politics and we're going to get in. Good evening, Manuel. Lawanda, good evening. Elitza, Misha, Pastor D, Gwen Tucker. Hello, Crystal. Hello, Jason. Good evening, Carmen. Gwen T, Nanita. Hello, Terry Brinson. Hello, Carmen Jones. We got a few Carmens on here. Thank you for joining us tonight. Crystal Adgers, Vanessa, Robert Taylor. Good evening, my brother. Thank you for your order. I saw it come through today. Did you find us or did someone refer you over to this page to hang out with this new family of yours for 30 days? Good evening, Rhonda, Mikey, Karita. Hello. Come on in, Kamisha, Mariah, Thomasina, Coach Latanya. Good evening, Carolyn. All right. Come on in. Thank y'all for tuning in. We are on night 6 for So Detox 2024. Let's see. You think something's wrong with the mic? Let me take a look. Nope, it should. Yeah, it's on. And let's see. All right, I think we're good there. Ebony, I think those questions are already answered now, right? I want to thank everyone for joining us on these 30 days, coming back in again tonight. It's only night 6, so we cannot be giving up already, right? You cannot. I don't even think it's been that bad. Am I okay to say that? Am I in a place to say that? Or would you all be like, no, leave that up to us? What do you think? Has it been that bad? And when I say that, I mean as far as triggering or really putting you in a place where you just feel like, oh man, this is a little tough. You're feeling something physically in your body. It's been okay. Okay. It's fine. Right. Compared to the other years, what do y'all think? I think this has been very light. Thank you, Robert Taylor. He said been very good. Jerry Towns says not yet, but she's waiting on it. Destiny said, yeah, please leave that up to us. Good morning, Tawana. Good morning. She put good morning, so I said good morning. But good morning, Tawana. Cynthia Baisden, hello. Yeah, not bad at all. This is pretty mild. Yeah, Pastor D, thank you. Carmen Sanchez said, but she's learning a lot. We all are, and that's the purpose, right? Yeah, this is light work. We're going to get into some heavy stuff, trust me. So just enjoy the beach right now. All right. So I want to thank, let's see, I want to thank Bianca for sewing, Prudence, Rochelle. Thank you, Deja, Chevelle, Danielle, Leah, John Booker, Rochelle Graham, Anna, Vanessa Bowling, Carmen Figueroa said she's sewing for the retreat. Carmen Jones, sewing for the retreat. Thank you. Cam, thank you. Anna, thank you. Darlene's, thank you. I see what it is as well. And Sherry, thank you, Sherry, who also is sewing for the retreat. They want to make this retreat happen, so we better get on the good foot. All right, because of the popular request, I went ahead and sent these in to the designer, and they're going to have notebooks ready if you want them. They're 5x7. So just to show you the difference in size, I don't have my EI book, but this is the normal size of my books. Okay. So you see the difference in size, but to me, it's a lot handier. It fits in the briefcase. Okay. It's a 5x7. The books are 6x9s. This notebook is 5x7. If you want it, an email went out letting you know that they're there. They cost a little bit more because I don't have the flexibility of setting them into a place that would charge a really good price, but it would take 2 weeks to get them. Now, I will send them in, and if you decide you want them down the road, they'll be up on the website all ready for you. But if you want them while we're in So Detox, you're going to have to pay a higher price that these local printing companies are charging me. So we're just relaying the cost, not making any profit on it. Books, assessments, coaches, all lined up. I met with our coaches, and you will be hearing from your coach, and you should feel the liberty to go online and book your first session. For those that paid to have a coach with them for these 30 days, you will get an email with instructions, but you will go online and book your first session with them, and you will book a session every week for 4 weeks. That's how long So Detox is. And they have their instructions on how to work with you, and you'll be on your way. And I just expect to hear really, 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 really good reports then. So looking forward to that. I thank you for the coaches that are involved and those who want to be trained in this. The journals are in and they're going out. The podcast is up. Has anyone gone to the podcast yet? Has anyone gone on to the podcast? Have you checked out Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Audible, Amazon, any of those places? Karen D is waiting for the assessment. Are you waiting for the results, or did you not take the actual assessment? I'm sure Ebony's going to pay attention to that and get to you right away. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube, please go over and hook us up. That's another way to sow a seed, by subscribing, liking, and sharing. Subscribing, liking, and sharing. Gwen Douglas, you're going to get the email tomorrow. The podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast, I'm on there. You got to look me up either by name, Suzanne M. Howard, or Armchair Psychology. Armchair Psychology. Ebony will put something up on the screen as well. Good. Thank you, Carmen. And some of the other sites still has it as Soul Detox. Yeah, John Booker's favorite is Spotify. So how's our walkers doing? Rochelle Graham gets the award. If you all would see the video she sent me at her job, looking like she was in a Tyler Perry movie. I'm telling you, she gets the award, giving me a shout out while she's at work and able to get on the treadmill. That's what I'm talking about. Very good. And also, I want to mention the singles event again. That's going to be on the 16th. Am I right? February 16th. So you can get involved in that and go out and have dinner. Bring your special someone with you and let us meet them and have a good, hallelujah, good time together. And the cookie, remember that cookie? That cookie was very good. They get 2 thumbs up for it. And I found out just recently before getting online that it was Kamisha's cookies. So if you want some good tasting cookies, give Kamisha a shout out on that. Kamisha, say hi on the screen. She did really, really good. The cookie was actually good, pretty and good. Isn't that unusual? February 16th, 7 p.m. By the end of the 30 days, we'll have the flyer up at the end of the broadcast so we can keep in contact with everything that's going on before we end so that we can keep our connections going. We're going to do a men's retreat. Hopefully we'll have a flyer or a date to have a flyer ready by then so we can have all these up at the end of the broadcast nightly so that we can keep up with what's going on online. How you doing with being snowed in? Are y'all all snowed in today too? We got hit pretty badly. How about y'all? Hot chocolate. Good. Yes, Kamisha did. I did enjoy it. Kamisha, thank you. All right. I think that's it. I think we can get into our work then. Yeah, we got really snowed in. Renee got her cardio in. Good job. LaShawn was out doing her walk, even in this weather. Good. Crystal, I think you wanted to be snowed in. Brooklyn, it rained. Oh, no snow, but rain. Okay. In Brooklyn, New York. First time snowboarding, John Booker? Only 1 inch for you, Robert Taylor. Were you in New London? Because I saw New London on the news and could not believe it. West Haven wasn't bad. Okay. Awesome. Well, I'm glad everyone is safe and that we're back on tonight. Let's jump in. We're confronting 100 triggers. And your job tonight is to write down the triggers that correspond with you. Because not only are you understanding and becoming self-aware, that now you understand to know if you have a trigger is the easiest, most layman's, the term that can be broken down the most. To know that if you have a trigger with something is if you have any kind of apprehension to it. Why do I have apprehension regarding this thing? There's probably a trigger there to it. So I'm going to go through these 100 triggers. That's right. Put them on the screen. I'm going to go through these 100 triggers. We hit 2 last night, and you're going to write down the ones that correspond with you. We can have a discussion on it. If our schedule goes well, if Ebony, I love you. If our schedule goes well, we may pull 1 or 2 of you in and bring you in on the live show, and we'll talk about your trigger with you. What do y'all think about that? For those that are not scared to be online, you have to have it rehearsed. We cannot have you get up here and talking out of socket or going off topic. A lot of people, especially women, like to go off topic. You got to stick with the question. How many times does someone ask you a question and you answer everything else but the question? As a leader, it drives me insane. Because I have a limited amount of time to spend on everything. And when you can't just get an answer back, it just takes so much more time to send another message or to work up more energy or another email or a second conversation. Just answer the question. So if we pull you in on this live, you're going to be respectful. You're going to stay on topic and you're not going to add anything to it, or we're going to just end you on the camera. So let's do it right. Let's be professional. Okay. Good. I'm so glad. I love that. So we talked last night about triggers, and one of them was work-related stress. I think we all have had that or still do experience that. Or social gatherings. Social gatherings. We talked about that. I think that's probably the same as work-related stress. And remember, some of these triggers you may have had, but it's not a consistent thing. What I'm looking for are the ones that correspond with you on a consistent basis, where it still bothers you 90 to 99% of the time when this happens. Okay. So the third place to identify emotional triggers is in family dynamics. For example, someone say, for example, For example, when you visit your family, interactions with certain relatives may consistently lead to feelings of frustration or irritation. The trigger may be that you have unresolved family conflicts or some other long-standing dynamics. Is that you? It's 104 of us on tonight. Family dynamics. Is that you? When you visit family or vice versa, and you have interactions perhaps with certain relatives, and it leads you leaving these family gatherings frustrated or irritated. I'm seeing a lot of yeses come up on the screen now. And again, I think I saw someone make a comment here that they're not heard when they go to the family events. So you might have identified a trigger, talked over. Yeah, that's a family trigger for you. So if that seems like it's a trigger for you, then I would ask you the question, is it correct to assume that there are some unresolved family conflicts or a long-standing dynamics of conflict? Is this how the family has always gotten along? A lot of family dynamics cannot be resolved, usually with just those involved. They have to have people get involved who are not emotionally attached to a situation. It can be both. Absolutely. Yep. Long-standing dynamics. How many wish we had those grandmas from the old days that would have pulled that family together and straightened that stuff out and not let it go on and on and on? Yeah, Manny said it, how they've always gotten along. Where are those grandmas and those grandfathers that would have handled that? Raphael, I think we take family for granted too. I think we take family for granted. And I can probably speak for it, even being myself. You take family for granted. And at the same time, it's amazing because we will take family or each other for granted and at the same time have high expectations of each other. No one can make a mistake. No one can ever say anything about you, so they can't have an opinion. And no, they shouldn't. They shouldn't have an opinion. Yeah, because opinions hurt. I understand. However, can we just be real? We all talk about each other some kind of way. Maybe not in a dogging way or a gossiping way, but we make a comment here and there about some things. Come on, you do it about me. I've probably done it about you. I mean, why wouldn't we? This is what humans do. But when it goes on and it becomes as Elder Manny said, a normal dynamic of the family, and we start taking each other for granted, it is facts, right, Minister Brittany? Are y'all up to speed with what I'm saying right now? Yeah, Corita, we all have something to say. It's just the way we are. It's messy, but it's humans. Humans are messy people. Ask the angels. They don't really like us. They keep telling God on us and they want God to get rid of us, and God hasn't done it yet. Angels can't stand us. We're messy. We all have something to say about each other. And it's hurtful, but guess what? We all do have a right to an opinion. It's a human right. And sometimes it's hurtful. So we have two choices. We have to confront. Cheryl Johnson says, wait, you talk about me? You have two options. You have one option to confront it or to forgive it. It is bad. No doubt about it. Especially if gossip keeps going on and on. No one stops the person from gossiping. So the gossip is able to go on because someone is hurt and either they're afraid of confrontation or they're intimidated by the person that they need to confront, or they're doing it maliciously to the person. That's when it's a real problem. When it's malicious intent to hurt the person. And when it's like that, they're doing it manipulatively, and they're going around to people and they're causing disruptions and assumptions. And especially if it's false, exaggerated stuff. Yeah, Robert Taylor says your opinion doesn't matter. That's even in the Bible. Did y'all know that? It's even in the Bible. But to have no opinion. And when you do, understand that opinions don't matter. They have no weight. So when someone does it maliciously, the hearers need to stop it with the malicious spreader. And when they don't do that, it keeps going on and on and on. And it's destroyed families, bloodlines. It's hurtful. So oftentimes when those family outings and cookouts and funerals and things try to happen, and it's not just one culture over another. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's all black families. Oh no, honey, I've been to Jewish bat mitzvahs and they be turned up. Italian families chased out with machetes at a wedding. I've seen them. It's humans. You just experience it only because you're probably only around your types of people. But every culture has their dynamics. But we all just need to say, you know what? Everybody talks. And if you're not talking, this is the part that gets me, right? I had to laugh at myself one day. You're hurt over what someone said. But didn't you talk about somebody before? Like, you know, I got mad when somebody stole from me, but didn't you steal from somebody before? I mean, it might have been before Christ. Thank God I got delivered from that part. But do you get where I'm going with this? Is it worth having the friction and the malicious intent? And like Peyton and I were talking about yesterday, and it's not so much of the people that are involved getting hurt. It's the hearers of the mess that's really getting hurt. And if it's not true, oh my God, it's awful. And this goes on in families. And it can be long term. And I'm talking not 5 years, not 10 years. I'm talking about my great grandmother and your great grandmother was sisters, and they had it out because one of them took the other one boyfriend in middle school. And then when they had their daughters carried on the beef. And then we are now of that same lineage, and me and you really like each other, but we'll never get to know it because we're carrying on something that we don't even know what we're carrying on. They're dead and gone in their graves. And this is in family dynamics, and no one confronts the stuff. So it becomes very triggering. And it's sad because it becomes very triggering for the younger generation that has no idea what's going on. Amazing, right? Wow. I'm reading your comments. Powerful stuff here. This would definitely be a good retreat night because a lot of information is coming from y'all on how things have been happening. Yeah, someone said the Hatfield and the McCoys. I remember the Johnsons and another one. Big for years. And no one in the family stopped it. There was no grandma in them and no abuelas and no mama, what they call them, big mamas. It was none of those people to break this stuff up and call it an end. So when we get together with families, some of these younger generations says, why can't I talk to them, my cousins? Why aren't I supposed to? Oh, well, she was drunk back in 1960. I mean, you know, what are we going to do, y'all? We just got to keep praying for the families because the families are supposed to be a blessing. We're supposed to have our wealth within our family, our health within our family. When sickness comes, the family's supposed to jump in to help care for one another. We're not supposed to have to be in convalescent homes and them nasty majority driven nursing homes. Wow. Good for you, Corindus. Family secrets. Yes, Robert. Families are supposed to be a blessing. All of our wealth, our help, our health, our love, supposed to be within that family. Secrets, Rose is talking about now. Yep. And never confront it. So family outings can be triggered. So how many of y'all feel you get triggered at family events? I'm not going to ask you why, but I do want to see your answer before I move on to the next trigger. Do you get triggered at family events? Yes, I do. I do. I do. Yep. I just don't go anymore. She ended her trigger. Wow. Isn't this sad? Yep. I get triggered at family events. I get more help from people outside. Yeah. From the family. Me too. I see one no. Okay. I see two no's. Okay. There's three of you. All right. That's pretty fair. All right, let's move on to the next one. If that's something you want to talk about, make a note and we can talk about it. And I do family mediation. I'm actually very, very good at it. And it's amazing how I'm able to do family mediation, but you can't restore your own family. Isn't that amazing? How your own gift can be used to help others, but it can't help yourself. It's amazing. I was talking with a group of psychologists on a Zoom one night, and they were sharing how many marriages they've helped and are helping, and how many marriages that are restored, and they send in pictures and anniversary photos thanking them. And half of the psychiatrists are in divorce themselves or going through horrible times in their marriage. You know, it's the same thing for pastors. You help so many people in your own life. You can be falling apart. You can be falling away from your own prayer and time with God because you're helping other people. These positions of helps, don't take them for granted that because a doctor is saving your life, that he's not suffering in his health. Come on, T.L. Holmes. He hit it right on time. Absolutely. Just because we help people does not exempt us from going through it, and we can help others and still never get that help ourselves. Come on, Pastor Yashika. It's so true. And I was amazed to hear it, that I came in from a pastoral point of view in that Zoom conference with the Christian counselors. And we had prayer, of course, and was, you know, people, they cried, but they felt such in a safe space to share that, you know, that they got a card today. One person opened up, and someone that had come to them 18 years ago, marriage was restored, and they were sending them pictures of all the cruises and everything that they had been on. And they were thanking the psychologist for helping them. And the psychologist family had been ruined. And it's so sad, but it's a fact. So don't judge people because they are in a position to help people and they can't help themselves. I think Christ summed it up himself in the scriptures when he said a prophet is not welcome in his own town. A prophet can go all about doing healing and deliverance and prophesying, evangelizing, teaching, setting up churches. And yet in his own town, his own family, his voice means nothing. Yeah. And that's just a good point to bring up. A very good point to bring up. Guess what number 4 is? Financial concerns. How many are triggered when it comes to finances? Even when you're not having a barren financial season. How about checking your bank account balances or even receiving bills triggers you with anxiety or stress? Oh God, a 100 already came up on the screen. Come on. Financial concerns. Listen, y'all, I remember when I had a dark season. I share this with the church often. And it was really, really, it was a Job experience. I had just given my life to Christ and I was being stripped of everything. And my electricity was turned off. My car was repossessed. It was the worst time of my entire life. And I was just had gotten served that they were going to take my house, which didn't end up happening. Glory to God. But that's a testimony that I've already shared. But I was so I don't know. I don't want to overstate it and say it was PTSD, but I was triggered like PTSD that for about maybe 5 years after that part of my life, every time I walked in the house, the first thing I did was flick the light switch on. And listen, the lights were already on, but it had grabbed such a hold of me. That season was so scary for me that even though the light switch is on, I would switch the light to make sure that the lights were on because that was such a bad time for me. So coming home was a trigger because I had fear that my lights were going to be off again. Now, everyone's lights don't get turned off just because they don't have the money. Some of them are bad managers of their money. You ever have money in the bank and had your lights turned off? How stupid is that, right? Just bad management. I'm going to pay it. Oh, I'll do it. Oh, I'll do it. I'll do it. That's why I say God birthed auto pay. Everything's on auto pay because it was a trigger for me. Light switches, coming home became a trigger. So what is the trigger? That it's a fear of financial instability or past financial hardships. You have to get delivered from past financial hardships. That's over and that's done with. And the only way to make sure that it never happens again is to face those finances. Put your stuff on auto pay, get on a real adult budget. Start putting some money aside for an emergency fund, then start building up a savings account. Get a financial person in your life because I actually know people who financially, they have been okay most of their life, but their childhood was such poverty, going from place to place, not having food to eat, living with different people and different family members, that even though their life has been okay, I'm not going to say they've got tons of money, but they've been safe. They're not even conscious to the fact that since being of their own adult age, they've been okay. They are marred by their childhood, and their childhood is what they are responding to today financially. They're always worrying about money. They never have enough money. It's amazing. So if this is a trigger for you, you need to write it down. And we have some connections with people who do financial coaching. Get a financial coach. It's real. It's from childhood. Mine wasn't from childhood. Mine was from my years coming in, like I said, but I got delivered from it, thank God. But it was horrible, y'all. I would wake up in the middle of the night. Listen how crazy it is. I would wake up in the middle of the night, right, to go to the restroom, and I could not sleep because I was trying to remember if I paid all my bills. I looked out the window to make sure the car was there. I didn't grow up like that. That wouldn't happen in my household growing up. I turned the light on to get to the restroom, but didn't even pay attention that I turned the light on, and I would turn another light switch on to make sure that one worked. That thing had me jacked up. Yeah, I never had to go through it either in childhood, and I can't imagine what it would have been like to go through it in childhood. But those are real triggers. If it's you, write it down. So how about relationship conflict? Relationship conflict. Disagreements with your partner may trigger anger or sadness. Relationship conflict. And just having conflict triggers either anger or sadness. Conflict does not have to trigger either one. You do know that, right? It really doesn't. Yeah, Mike Rose, I like your comment. My parents were too, Corinda's. Relationship conflict. Does every conflict trigger anger or sadness from you? Can you move on? Can you forgive? If the issue is not resolved, can you put it away until it's time to have a discussion at a better temperate rate of emotions and attitude, and you still love me and sleep with me and be intimate with me and kiss me in the morning and pray for me and not pray that God get me, can you still have that going on while we have conflict? If not, then relationships are a trigger for you. Now, whether you're married or not, this is a big deal. If you're not married, I recommend that you get a hold of this now. Please, by the mercies of God, I beseech you, do not get married with these triggers alive and active on the inside of you. It's going to mess so many things and so many years and so many lives up. Get your triggers handled. Does disagreements cause you fear, insecurity, nervousness? They're going to leave me, or I need to leave them. Are there any people in here that have been married or are married now, and your spouse is always crying divorce? Every time there's an argument, divorce. And you're like, how is it a divorce? We'll go back to the French fry. All I did was eat the last French fry. Like Bernard would say, I'll go back out and get you another pack. I don't want another pack. I wanted that one. Ebony, stop laughing. I can see you. How many people are quick to yell divorce? Do you know that that's a real thing? That's a fear. It's a fear. When we yell divorce and the event is not equal to such a term as that, there is a greater issue going on inside the individual. Inside the individual. And it's real. I came through that one. Okay. Well, if that's you, the trigger could be a fear of abandonment. You got involved in a relationship before you were healed from childhood abandonment. Please understand that abandonment can come from death. It doesn't mean somebody intentionally abandoned you. Someone could have died. Someone could have gone to jail, or someone could have abandoned you by choosing drugs or choosing a better lover. So they left your parent to move on to a peaceful life and you were abandoned. So in your relationship, you are triggered with disagreements. Let's just say it's not even an argument. It's a disagreement. We do not agree over how the child is going to be raised. Oh, I'm going to leave you then. I'm sick of this. I can't take this. Every time we have a disagreement, every time you can't take this, every time you're going to leave me, every time, every single situation, there's something deeper going on, honey. And we need to go to a therapist because this can't be all me. It cannot be. And it's not. There's a trigger, and the trigger is abandonment that has never been healed. You've been abandoned. Either it's been perceived as abandonment or you have been abandoned. Yeah, I do too, Ralphie. My parents were together forever. I didn't have different men and women coming out of the house we grew up out of. We weren't allowed to bring different boyfriends or girlfriends in the house. But I still had a fear of abandonment. And I didn't know it until every time there was an issue, I kept saying divorce, 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 divorce. And I would have did it too quick, y'all. Come on, we're going to get free. I'm free. So now I'm able to lead you into a certain depth of this to bring healing to your life. The trigger could be a fear of abandonment. Listen, can I give you part 2? Yes, someone says, I believe my husband suffers from a fear of abandonment. Yeah, it's big. And I don't have the statistics right now, but I will tell you that that issue is, we used to think it was big in girls, and that's where the term daddy issues came up. But we're finding out that abandonment is actually bigger in boys than it is in girls, only because boys are not allowed to talk about that they feel abandoned. And most boys are, as a girl would be presumed to be abandoned by an absent parent. a physically absent parent. Boys have been determined to have been abandoned by an emotionally absent parent. The damage of it, I'm saying, is a little more to them. So if mom, who is the parent that the boy likes to glean with, not mature with, but nurture with, if mom is not an emotionally sharing woman, he will suffer abandonment right within the family with both family members, both parents in the household. So it is as high, it is for boys as it is for girls. It has different components and dynamics to it, but it doesn't matter. It's not just daddy issues, let me tell you. So this is the second part to it, a fear of abandonment. And we can do some work with you on that as well. Or listen, are y'all listening? Tell me you're listening. Okay, you're listening. Your need for control. Your need for control. You are triggered in disagreements because you need to control the narrative. So if you have control issues, that can come from feelings of being abandoned. If you haven't felt that you were listened to growing up, usually what happens is our mindset becomes like this. No one's ever going to ignore me again. I learned that as a child, I had no control. You hear those words? So now as an adult, I'm going to stay in control in as many areas of my life where I can. And where I cannot be in control, I don't want to be a part of it. So when there's disagreements that come up and you can't win the disagreement, or you feel that there's a teaming up against you, or you're not being heard in the disagreement, if you feel that way when it's really you need to control it, you're going to have a problem with that individual, because your whole thing isn't about the disagreement. Your whole thing is your need for control. Maybe your mom was a very aggressive alpha woman and your dad wasn't passive, but maybe he was just even nature. He didn't need the arguments. He didn't need the control. He just wanted a loving family that he could come home to, a nice meal, have peace in his home. He worked really hard. And your mom was this aggressive, maybe abandoned woman, for example. So you witnessed her maybe run over him. So now as a man, you are like super macho, or vice versa. Your mom was very soft and even nature, and your dad was very aggressive. And because you saw that dynamics play out in your mind, no man's ever going to control you. So now you're very aggressive in your relationships, and he's just not giving you the fight. Or maybe he is giving you the fight. So again, this is why I said last night, most times we need to be clear. What are we actually fighting about again? As a coach, I have to ask people, what do we fight? And sometimes I'll ask them 3 times and they'll look at me like, are you listening to us? Now they want to argue with me. No, I'm listening, but I'm hearing 2 different dynamics here. It started about what was that, Ebony? It started about the French fry, but it wasn't about the French fry at all. Are y'all feeling me? I got to find out which one does that. I like the signs and the symbols. So disagreements with your partner can trigger anger or sadness. And the trigger could be a fear of abandonment or need for control. Ready for the third part of it? Or past relationship traumas. Past relationship traumas. How many feel that they still have some healing that is needed from past relationships? Past relationship traumas. How many feel that they still have some of that floating around? And I'm talking about your domestic relationship. Let's not go into our parents' stuff that we still need healing from. Yes, to the past. Yeah. Past relationship trauma. So imagine a retreat weekend from that. Healing and deliverance. Ebony, write it down for me. Past relationship trauma. Some of us started beating people up because we were beat up so much. Yep. And it's sad that we don't even realize that we're triggered from past relationship trauma until we get into another relationship. Because when you're alone, you get along pretty well with yourself. Pretty well. You get along good enough till you find someone, at least. That's what the whole goal is. And then when you get with them, they're caught pulling all kind of rings and bells and alarms and sirens out of you. And you're like, I was fine until I met you. Well, we're all pretty well fine by ourselves. But relationships require covenants. And covenants is going to pull everything out of you that's there. Good, bad, and indifferent. So get some help with past relationship traumas. Get some help if you have a need for control. Because people don't respect control. They think that you're controlling just because you're a witch or a Jezebel or bossy or misogynistic or macho or arrogant. Most people's need for control is to feel safe. When they trusted someone, something happened to them. So no longer are they giving out pieces of themselves or trust. They are now going to be in control of everything, and you can get on board or you can leave. They'll find someone to get on board with it. Relationship conflict. Do you have a fear of abandonment? Do you not feel safe? So now you have a need for control. Or do you just solely have completely past relationship traumas? And I want to make a note before I move on to this next one. Past relationship trauma could be within the same relationship you're in. Sometimes that apology that you need to move on just hasn't come, and you're still in the relationship and you're not healed from it because the person doesn't know to apologize. Some people have a problem with saying I'm sorry. Like, that's wild, right? Like, you could just say it and not even mean it. Like, some people just can't even say it. You can't even fake it. How about health issues? Health issues. Do you have any triggers related to health issues? I know I do. Keep me away from the doctor. Do not bring his phone call, his mail. Don't let the annual appointment time come up. Health issues. Experiencing health problems or visiting the doctor may trigger feelings of anxiety or fear. All the time. What's the trigger with health issues? It may be a fear of the unknown, most times, or previous negative medical experiences. We can talk about it. How about a fear of public speaking? I know this one to be pretty big. A fear of public speaking. How many have that? The thought of speaking in public may trigger intense anxiety. Write it down if it's yours. Talk about it with your coach. Keep it in your notes if we work together. Public speaking. What is the trigger? The trigger may be a fear of judgment. A fear of judgment or a fear of making a mistake in front of others. But it's the same thing. Because no one really fears making a mistake unless you're operating on someone or you're, doing some really serious work. The fear really is of being judged, being criticized. So there's a fear of judgment that we need to work on in you. It's not rocket science. We can get this stuff done. Why stay in these behaviors that are not producing anything powerful in your life? Let's confront it. It's a fear of judgment. Find a scripture on it for now. Speak against it. Pull down those thoughts. How about traffic jams? Traffic jams. That's one so powerful, as we all probably know, that they even have terms for traffic now. Terms for traffic. Road rage. You do know that rage is extreme anger, right? And when you put road rage on it, you see just how sick we really are. Road rage. The other day I was sharing, this guy didn't think I was going to let him in the traffic. So he goes and he puts the loser sign out his window. Road rage. Just because I wasn't letting him in, he thought I wasn't going to let him in. He got in front of me and he was in front of me driving and still put his hand out the window with the L sign. People have road rage. And what? There was no one behind me if I didn't let him go. There was no one behind me. He wasn't losing a spot or being stuck at a light or getting arrested or having to go to the hospital. Road rage. And Peyton looked and said, oh, no, he didn't. I said, girl, people got mental health issues and it shows up in their driving. Road rage. Being stuck in traffic triggers frustration and anger in a lot of people. The trigger with being stuck in traffic could be a need for control. Wow. Got to relook at this one. If you are triggered, most times when you're stuck in traffic, you're either like Corinda said, you're not leaving on time. So now you want everyone else to move out of your way. So you have this importance mindset when you're the one that didn't leave enough time, or you have a need for control. Impatience. All right, I got a couple more minutes with y'all. We'll do 2 more, hopefully. Loss and grief. How many are triggered by loss and grief? Loss and grief. And I'm talking triggers. Certain anniversaries or reminders of a loved one's passing triggers feelings of sadness and grief. And this passing has been a while now. And you yourself may be saying, okay, what's going on here? Write that down. Let's talk about it. You can come on the live and talk about it. And I could give you like a quick solution and we can do it in front of everyone else. And maybe we can be a help to their life. Certain anniversaries or reminders of a loved one's passing may trigger feelings of sadness and grief. The trigger is often the loss itself or the memories associated with it. I'd also like to add some guilt. Sometimes the trigger is guilt. Sometimes the trigger is guilt. I wish I would have called them. I wish I would have taken them out when I wanted to. I wish I would have went to their birthday party. I wish I hadn't have said that thing to them. I wish I hadn't. I wish I would have. I should have. But remember, we're talking about where it's really in your life. They've been going a while. It's time to get some help with it. I mourned for 10 years and I would never put that on anyone else. And I'm glad the Holy Spirit relieved me of that. And he delivered me so much from mourning that I don't even go to the graveyard. And the grave is right down where I used to live, right down the street from me. I don't even go because my mother is not there. She is gone. And part of my grieving for me, I'm not saying anyone else. I think the graveside is very important. It's a place, to feel them and remember them. And you can feel like you're talking to them. But for me, the way he delivered me, she's not there. She's gone. She's in your heart. She's in your mind. And that's it. And I haven't been to their grave in years. And people, oh, I put flowers on your mother's grave. And I just smile. I don't go to the grave. She's not there. But imagine it took me 10 years to even get over her death, that I was able now to not even need to go to her grave. I got her pictures up in my office. I don't cry. So certain anniversaries, and it can trigger it. It's often the loss itself and the memories associated with it. So if you need help with that, let us know. Number 10, perceived rejection. Perceived rejection. Not receiving a response to a text message may trigger feelings of rejection and loneliness. This is so big because in a time of the all fast information highway, people still don't like text messages. People still want ear-to-ear phone calls. People still want face-to-face video calls. When people are in meetings and trying to answer you so that we can knock out 2 and 3 birds with one stone, I still have people in my life that refuse to text. And it's funny because they'll call me and I'll text them back. And then they'll call me. I'm like, I just text you. Why you call me? How many are texters and how many are phone people in here? Shoot it up on the screen real quick so we can finish this one and be done for tonight. Are you a texter or are you a phone person? When I say phone, I mean call. Yep, phone. I love texting. I'm a texter all day. We could text and be in the same room, please. Okay, we got a couple both. Y'all are pretty dope. I'm not both. My phone doesn't even ring once a day, but it texts probably 1,000 texts a day. Yep, I'm a texter. All right, so phone people, if you call someone and they don't answer, do you feel that it's on purpose? Do you feel ignored? Do you feel rejected? How do you feel when you call someone and you know they're not answering you, or you know they sent you to voicemail? How do you feel? Bernard Howard, I hope you're not driving. He's in here talking about phone. We know your phone. Good God, do we know your phone? When people don't text back, I like text. She feels ignored. Depends on who it is. Sometimes I feel ignored. Depends who it is. Feelings hurt, rejection. Yep. So I want you to write that one down because that's a big one. And so far, this to me might be the biggest one that you might want to put on the top of the list of triggers to deal with. Because if this rejection is in your life, it's showing up in other places in your life. Yeah, I text people, guys, I don't even remember I text them. They'd be like, hey, you text me? Be like, oh yeah, like I ain't waiting around for nothing. I did my part, moving on. But there are people that if you don't answer their call, if you don't respond to their call, if you don't respond to their call in a certain amount of time, they get aggressive, or you call them back, they don't answer you and they're not answering you because they called you and they needed you, but you didn't answer. So now you're calling them back to help them. And now they're not answering you. It's insanity. It's insanity because it ends up hurting yourself. It becomes a self-sabotage. It's craziness. Let's get you some help with this rejection. So what's the trigger that bothers you that when I don't answer you or I don't respond to you immediately or I don't answer your call, what is the trigger? The trigger is a need for connection or a fear of being ignored. You obviously have been ignored a great part of the childhood. You felt that way. It was perceived to you. And this is why it shows up in something as simple as a communication of the phone. Not receiving, I'll go back and read it again. Perceived rejection, not receiving a response to a text message or a phone call may trigger feelings of rejection or even loneliness. When you call someone, they don't answer. The trigger may be a need for connection, that you need more connections, baby. Because if you rejected over that, you definitely need you need to get a therapy dog. We're gonna go look for a dog together because that's too much power you're giving away to the phone. And the second part of it is you have a fear of being ignored. A fear of being ignored. So if that's you, write it down. I'd like to have a conversation with you. It's 9:01. Let's see. Yeah, we're already hit an hour. We'll hit this one because it's simple. Academic pressure. Preparing for exams or academic deadlines may trigger stress and anxiety. Destiny, are you on here? The trigger might be a fear of failure or pressure to excel academically. If you are triggered for exams or any type of academic deadline, if you suffer stress and anxiety every time, that's a trigger. And the trigger for you could be a fear of failure, which also will show up in other areas of your life, by the way, or you have pressure on yourself to excel academically. And there's nothing wrong with excelling academically. It's the pressure that we're talking about. All right. We're doing good. All right. I'm going to end now. I don't want to keep it over. I know the kids have a delay tomorrow. Did y'all get a message already about your kids' school? We've got a 2-hour delay tomorrow. Thank you, God. I love when the school is closed or the school runs late. Oh, my God. She's learned to work her last minute anxiety. Really good. Yep. And it's awesome when you do excel academically, but the pressure you put on yourself, don't you often say, I wish I didn't have to put all this pressure on myself? Proud of my grade, but man. Wow. I see you, Christy. All right. That's it. If you have any questions, please send in your emails. The address is on the screen right now that you can write in to any of us. Ebony at SuzanneMHoward.com, Dr. Suzanne at SuzanneMHoward.com. You can reach any of our coaches that way. Any questions you have. Thank you for, I believe a couple people sent their will chart in. I really wanted to get into work tonight because when I listened to the live last night, we had a lot of talking that had to get out the way, but it was like 20 minutes. So I didn't want to do that tonight. I wanted to jump into the good stuff and get some of these triggers ironed out to prepare us for moving into the heavy rains. Okay. So God bless you. We're going to go now. Let's go ahead and prophesy. I wish above all things that you prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. We'll pick up tomorrow night on triggers as we work through our self-awareness and self-regulation series. God bless you all. Have a good night.